Hi, my name is Denisha Rivera. I will be interviewing Director Anthony Tony, at Bunker Hill Community College Athletics Department. So, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me.
Thank you for letting me interview you. I just have a couple of questions I want to ask. You can go into detail as much as you want. I just want to know, could you give us a brief description of your position and your responsibilities here at Bunker Hill?
Sure. So I'm the Director of Athletics at Bunker Hill. I've only been here since January, so only 4 months. But I'm in charge of overseeing all the intercollegiate athletic programs here at Bunker Hill. And I also oversee the fitness center, which many people don't equate the two, but I oversee the fitness center as well. Responsibilities range from making sure our athletes are eligible, both academically to be on the field or on the court, making sure we have schedules, we have officials, we have game day staff, we have facilities taken care of. I oversee all those little parts, and even working with sports medicine when we have our trainers come in to make sure our athletes get some training, get the services that they need. So I oversee a myriad of all those activities that fall underneath my window of supervision, and I oversee all the coaches and assistant coaches. So it's quite a bit, but it's an enjoyable experience.
That is a handful, but it does sound enjoyable.
It does. It has its moments. I'll put it that way. That's right.
What drove you to pursue a career here in the athletics department?
Great question. So I'll go back to the beginning, give to a context, because I ended up at Bunker Hill, and the way I say I ended up at Bunker Hill was that in this journey, I think every job is an assignment. And you don't know how long you're going to be in an assignment, but you just keep getting assignments once you find your purpose. So when I was coming out of college, I didn't have this as my goal of being athletic director. I had no idea about being athletic director. But I tell people this all the time, because I talk to students both in grad and undergrad programs. What I found was my actual purpose. So as a young black man coming up in the city of Boston, like many black men across the country, I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player, right? Or a professional football player. Stop me if you heard that one before, right? So I thought that was my dream. Until I realized it wasn't my dream, it was actually a dream that was put in front of me. So the way I tell young people today, I thought my way out of poverty and uplifted was going to be as a professional athlete. And the reality was I was in the right field, but I was looking in the wrong lane. So I am a professional in sports, I just wasn't a professional athlete. And my career path will last and has lasted longer than any playing career I could have had. But how I got to that point was solving a problem. So that's how it got me started. Because what happened was I was living in Roxbury in a housing development. If anyone's familiar with Boston, called the Academy Homes. And day in and day out, I would see all the young people in my community just hanging out. Right? They wanted to do something constructive, but there was nothing there for them. And there was a gentleman who created a league at the Malcolm X Park. It was a good idea. He wanted to bring young people across different communities to kind of alleviate the gang problem. Great idea, bad execution, because it wasn't organized as it could be with schedules and all those things. And what would happen would be the kids from my community would run up to the park every weekend because they told you're going to play Saturday at 10 o'clock. So they were up there excited. Young people are excited to play. And when they get there, they'd be like, oh no, y'all don't play till 2 o'clock, you're playing the Orange Tree. No. And I would see the look in the young people's faces, right? And I said, okay, like most people, like most adults do, we sit and complain, right? I said, no, I'm going to offer to help the brother out, because I know he's a good dude. And I offered to help him out. He didn't take me up on my offer. So that happened for a whole summer. And I kept seeing that roller coaster of emotions of young people being disappointed. But the problem was they still needed something to do. So I said, you know what, like, unlike most people who just complain and then they move about their business, I said, I'm going to do something. So there's a problem, I'm going to step in and solve it. So the next summer, I started my own basketball league in the Academy Homes, which is right around the corner from Malcolm X Park. And that opened the door for a career in sports. Because at that point, I was working in corporate America. I had no idea I'd be where I'm at today. And I'm a firm believer, if I had not solved a problem in the community, I would not be sitting before you today as the director of athletics. So again, my dream was professional athletes, right? So I was in the right realm, I was just in the wrong lane until I solved that problem. And then once I solved that problem, doors of opportunity that were already there that I didn't see started to open for me. And then one opportunity led to another. I got hired as the youth director, and it just kept going from there until I became an assistant athletic director and head women's basketball coach at a local college here in Boston. Now, I got that position coming out of a community center, so my path to that position was not traditional. So I tell people all the time, young people who are taking sports management majors and all that, you don't have to major in sports to get a professional job in sports. So for me, I certainly didn't have that, but I'll go back to the point. If I hadn't solved that problem, Desiree, there's no way, I honestly believe I would be sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
And doors of opportunity opened once I got into the correct lane, because I was meant to be purposeful in that lane of being an administrator and a coach. So that helped me get to where I'm at today. And then again, coming to Bunker Hill, I was at the secondary level for the last 12 and a half years, doing high school and middle school sports. And then the opportunity just opened up. I applied for it, and as they say, the rest is history. And I came in as the newest athletic director in January.
Cool. What benefits does your position provide to Bunker Hill? Even though we went through it,
Right.
Just a deeper description, if you will.
So the benefits of my description, I think number one is organization, leadership. I would say somebody who provides guidance to not only the athletes but the coaches. I'm an experienced administrator. I've been doing this for over 25 years, so I'm not new to this. I'm not the new kid on the block, right? I would also say that it's helpful to have a face to the program, that when things happen, people can come to that person, whether it's good or bad. Having a presence. And I would say what we talked about, I would also say role modeling, so that young men and women, young black and brown men can say, there's a man of position and authority, and we don't see that too often, right? So maybe that's something I could aspire to do, because they see someone who looks like them walking in that path, in that career. So I think those are some of the benefits of exposure. And I think it's just, again, somebody who walks upright that people get to see, and hopefully who is going to help the programs thrive. We've had a long history of success here at Bunker Hill in athletics, and I want to build upon that during my time here, right? And as I said, every job's an assignment. I don't know how long I'll be here, but while I'm here, I want to be effective in creating an environment of success. We're going to do things the right way here, and I want the young people to look back upon this time with great admiration, because these are their golden years, right? These are the years they're going to be bragging about to their children one day. And I hope that we can provide them with a good experience. And I'll end by saying one of my taglines that my staff knows is that I operate under the banner of our student athletes deserve nothing less than our best effort. That's the overall theme for my leadership here. And it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect. We're going to make some mistakes. We're going to mess up. We're going to miss the mark sometime. But our goal is to give them our best effort to provide the student athletes with a wonderful experience.
Wow. Okay. How would you describe your work conditions here?
Conditions are great. I think we got a good facilities. I don't think that we take it a real account of how well we have for facilities. Like anything else, when you see it every day, you take it for granted. But really, we have a nice field. Now, some of our equipment can be updated because it's been weather beaten outside, whatever, but we have our own field. We don't have to travel anywhere. We don't have to leave off campus. We don't have to rent a facility. We don't have to share with another school. We have a great facility. We have a gym here. This building's like 12, 13 years old. The fitness center is the same thing. Though, again, we can update equipment, upgrade equipment. Yes, we can do that. But we have our own facility here. We have our own laundry system here. We have a trainer's room here. A lot of colleges, community colleges at this level don't have that. So that's something I think that we should appreciate. And again, we can always make upgrades and changes. But to have that right here on campus and not have to travel and do all of those things, to me, that's like a tip of the iceberg for us. That's the best thing. That's the best position to be in.
Yeah, that's a dream.
It is, and again, we're a community college, so unlike some four-year schools, we don't have all the staffing that can handle all that, but we do have the capacity here to have those places and have that space.
Are there any obstacles in your position that you've encountered that make you question your career path? If so, can you elaborate on them? If
I reflect over all the years I've been an administrator, I wouldn't say there's something that has an obstacle that made me question my career path, because I'm a man of faith. I believe that once I identified my gifts and talents, it was a matter of what was that for, what was the purpose for that. And once I put those together, the career path was here. I don't have a regret there. There are days, obviously, that like anybody else, any other profession, there's some days I'm like, what's going on? This is a lot. You can get overwhelmed at times, particularly because the schedule here changes. It's not predictable. It can be calm one day and then the next minute it's a storm, right? I think, and also if you talk to some of my colleagues and peers, dealing with parents can be a challenge, right? Dealing with students who have unrealistic expectations. You're also still working with coaches. Some of them need a little more counseling and other help and support. But I think there have been days where I was like, man, how much longer I can do this, right? But at the end of the day, I always say, as long as I'm producing fruit and things, the results are there, then I'm where I'm supposed to be. But I don't regret the occupation, as I said, because I thought I was going to be a pro athlete, but I'm a professional in athletics, and that's a whole different way of thinking that a lot of our young people don't consider or hear. So I don't have any regrets for that. But like any other profession, there are days you're scratching your head. You're like, do I want to get out of bed and go deal with this today? That's just normal for any profession you have. But when you realize your work is your ministry, that's what keeps you going.
Okay. Do you have any future plans for your career?
Good question. I think, where I've been in this for over 20-something odd years, I think the question is, while I'm here, however long I'm here, I'm going to do the best job I can for Bunker Hill. What happens next will not be up to me, right? If it's time and God says it's time to move on, it's your assignment, then I'll go wherever that may be. But as of right now, I'm just locked into being here and being an effective administrator here and helping the programs here. So I focus on that, and then once that assignment has run its course and it's time to move on, then I'll move on wherever that may be. It could be another college, it could be back in secondary. I don't put parameters and limits on where that door will be, because then I might miss an opportunity, right? Yeah. And I believe firmly that I'm sent somewhere to make an impact. I believe that. So I don't want to limit and say, well, Des, I think I'm going to go to the NBA or anything like that. I don't know where I'm called next, but wherever I'm going to be called next, it will be a place where I am needed. Okay. If that makes sense, right? It does. So I don't just look at jobs. I look at places where I'm needed. What's the desire of my heart? Who are the students that I want to serve? All those play a role. When you're just starting, you're kind of a little bit out there, kind of floating around. But when you've been in this for a while and you understand your purpose, you can be more selective at the positions you apply for.
Okay. Understand. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to be an athletic director or possibly just work anywhere in the athletic department?
Yeah, I would say when you first start out, try a few different positions, right? I would say don't always look for an opportunity. Sometimes you can create your opportunity. So you can contact some athletic departments to see if they need help, right? There's a formal intern process, and then there's sometimes you might be able to create an internship because they need help and they didn't know and you came through the door. But also, like I said to you earlier, be willing to open and create your own opportunity, right? I said I created my own league, right? That was an opportunity that I created that nobody had to tell me to do. I just did it, and look what happened. Look where I'm at because of that. So be open and flexible. I'd say this: identify your gifts and talents first. Know what they are, and then tie that into your passion, because that's going to be your barometer or your measuring device of where you're going to go, right? And when you know that, you have those two locked in, what you're good at and what you're passionate about, the next thing will be where do you go? What's your purpose? Where are you called to go, right? Mm-hmm. And so I call it TPC, talent, passion, and call. Once you have the first two, which are God-given to you, then they're not going to change. Now you may be called to different areas. You could be a community center. Don't overlook those, because a lot of times the youth centers in your neighborhood need help, and we don't even think about it. Don't be afraid to volunteer. You may not get paid in the beginning. That's fine. The experience you get will help you on your resume. I would also say, keep your name out there, because you'd be surprised. Sometimes your name will walk through a door of opportunity before you physically walk through that door. People will be talking about, hey, There's a young lady that I've been working with named Desiree, she's good, she's volunteering, she's great with it. You just don't know how people will talk about you that may get in the door before you actually walk in there. So don't be afraid of that. And I would say, in terms of if you're going to school, you don't have to do sports management. If you are doing that, fine, take that, do the best you can. But really find out what your talent, what you really want to do is find out what you really are called to and what you're passionate about. And when I say passion, I know people often think of what I love. But I would say passion is a two-sided coin. There's a part you love, and there's a part that you don't like, right? That's passion too. You're passionate about those things. And in between where those two intersect, that's where your opportunities are. In sports, whatever field you're talking about. So I would say look at that, put those lists together, do an evaluation. Here's my gifts and talents. Here's what I'm passionate about. Things I love, things that get underneath my skin. And then figure out between those two lists where the opportunity could be for you to make a difference. Because wherever you go, you want to make a difference. So that's what I would tell anybody that's watching. And don't assume we need you, right? I say this when I go speak at panels all the time. That always blows kids away because they're like, whoa, I didn't expect you to say that. I always ask them, who told you we need you? Then I would say, what problem do your gifts and talents solve in this industry? Right? Because it's not enough to say I love sports, or I've heard stories when I interview people, yeah, my grandfather used to take me to a baseball game. Those are good human interest stories. I'm not going to discount those. But I have a job, I have a problem that needs solving. How are your gifts and talents going to help me solve that problem? So that's what I would say, lock in on that. How are your gifts and talents, where would they solve a problem in this industry? If it's sports medicine, great. If it's being an equipment manager, if it's a coach, if it's a general manager, if it's an athletic director, find out what problem your gifts and talents will solve, and that's what you should pursue.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Absolutely. I hope people find it interesting and that it would be something that people will gravitate to. And you are welcome to come here anytime you want to, on camera or off camera, talk to me about sports and medicine and what your future is. All right?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.